Right, let's get to it. It is Friday, June 19th. Community Beacon. From my understanding, it is Juneteenth. It's Juneteenth, right?
Happy
Happy
Juneteenth to
Happy
someone,
Juneteenth. I
to
went to the
anyone,
bank
to you,
today.
brother.
I went to the bank today and it was closed. So I don't know what I did with one of my cards. So I couldn't even make the deposit that I wanted to make. But that definitely reminded me of, I guess it is now a federal holiday. So happy Juneteenth to the brother in front of me. Happy Juneteenth to everyone in your respective places and how you celebrate it. I also believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's Father's Day on Sunday. Is
How
that
about
this
that?
Sunday or is it next Sunday?
That's
I
this
want
Sunday.
It's this Sunday. I wanted to make sure. I wanted to check. I don't want to be in error. I don't. I tell my sons it's Father's Day every day. It's
Yeah.
so we try to celebrate as much as we can. However, according to my court papers, I do get my son on Sunday, so I need to make sure I have preparation for him. So he gets to spend the day with me. It's been an awesome week. Nobody asked me, but I'll let you all know. So
All right.
I'll put that in there. And what made it so awesome wasn't that there wasn't negative things that were happening. It wasn't that there was negative things within my mind. It wasn't that that those things didn't occur during this week. Um, I think for this week, it was more so. It's more so was like just a choice of it. It's going to be. And then of course highlights, man. My last weekend, all the kids came over, so all my nieces and nephews. We went in the pool. We played board games. Um, Uno, and we cooked and we ate and we laughed and we played, and they asked me some awesome questions and I made them subscribe like you all should subscribe to the community.
that's that's what you do when you get them all in there. Like, hold on,
Yeah,
open your phone
open
up
your
right
phone up.
now. All right, let's make this
Are
productive.
you? Hey, listen. So they all subscribed to Community Beacon. They watched a couple of episodes. I saw a couple of the views go up, and I know that it was them. They even asked to come on the show. They said, "Hey, I got some things to talk about." I said, "I got some things to hear from that you have to talk about." I'm at such a place in my life that we get to have such honest conversations. Like I heard someone say once, it goes fast. Pay attention. It goes fast. I have had the privilege to enjoy each and every step. I fully experienced fatherhood, I guess unclenesshood with all of the kids. And now that they're at this age, like we're having some real, like these conversations are high level, mature conversations. And it also reminds me of how I need to speak to them because they'll say, "Well, remember," this is what they always tell me, "remember when you said," and I said, "Did I say that?" Okay, well, maybe let me add some more context to it. Maybe I just said it in passing. Maybe you heard piece of it, but I get a chance to add context. So that was an awesome time. My father's down here, of course. Every Thursday is super. He calls it Super Thursdays. That's where he prepares soup, and he has gotten so good at his soup making that it's like a holiday within itself. So yeah, man, it's been a awesome week, ups and downs, lots of learning, lots of great conversations. Um, Interestingly enough, brother, a couple people at the gym stopped me and said they saw the show, and I didn't even
Mm.
know they still paid attention to it. And they said, "Yeah, we saw the show." A couple people were asking about they want to speak on the show, and I'm like, "Ah." I said, "I don't know if it's a show as much as we just get on and we just kind of talk about how we feel, but you know." I say, I don't know how necessarily prepared we are for the show. Not to say that we don't do things in preparation for the show, but it's mostly like, hey man, like we have some honest conversations. If you are ready to come in and have some honest conversations and get some pushback about the way that you possibly think about things, um, maybe we can take a look at that. But they definitely appreciate what it is that we do on the show. specifically someone brought up like the holding piece. They're like, man, you and Joel get on the show, and he's like, you guys just listen to each other. And I said, huh, what do you think about that? You know what I mean? Like, what an interesting ideal to actually listen to what the other person has to say and take into consideration where they're at. And so he thought that was an awesome thing that you and I did, brother. But tell me about your week, man. How we doing?
Yeah, man, I definitely can appreciate that. Before I even answer that, that holding piece, man, that's that's a real thing. You know, for anybody that's out there and listening, that's one of the realest things I believe that we're able to bring uh, to this environment. I don't even want to call it a show, um, because for for us, and you know, I'm saying us, like I'll say for me, like there has been times when I've actually experienced real breakthrough moments in the midst of this show, or in the before, or in the after. Um, as well as this goes on for, you know, like a decade and a half, right, or something like that, where we've been having these and holding these conversations and just being the uplift to one another. And I mean, really, our relationship it's almost really built up on this type of communication. So for me, it's been my experience with the community beacon, and my experience with my brother right there has been just like open, 100% open. You know, I think we must have discussed this before. One of my mentors, Daddy Bailey, he had said on one occasion, he said, "How you doing?" And someone said, "Blessed and highly favored." And he was like, "I know you blessed and highly favored. You got breath. You woke up this morning. I know God is good." He said, "But I want to know how you doing." And I was like, "Ooh, that was a mic drop," because it was just the reality. And the thing about that is there's so many that they don't have that individual that they can just be like, okay, here we are, right? Here we are. And here's another part of that, if I can plug this in. As human beings, when we are in different types of positions of the how you doing, or Brooklyn Boone would say, how you holding up, there's a point where there's a need for somebody to give or to receive. And sometimes that is like the shadow of the conversation. It's the shadow of it, you know? And there's nothing wrong with the give or the receive, but there can be a shadow of it. And, okay, so what do I mean by that? I mean, some people utilize their the answer to receive something. And some people feel that they must give something because they asked, "How you doing?" And none of that stuff even matters, right? It doesn't matter. Simply holding the space for these conversations to be out loud and no longer inside of somebody's mind, a place that can be safe, providing that atmosphere so an individual does not have to simply keep it all inside their mind and um, deal with different things, highs and lows. So I think that that's the power of holding space, right? That's the power of truly holding space. So there doesn't have to be something that is supplied. You know, we can't fix everything. Some things you need to go through. Some things you need to feel it. So I just love that. I love that, and I appreciate that at all times. Yeah. So for me, my how you doing this week, man, it has been filled with highs and lows. I'm telling you, like crazy. I have been on the rough waters, and I'm going through this process. And this process, man, I must have hit that place where the current splits. I don't know if y'all understand what I'm talking about, but there's a place where it's like the current splits, and if you stay in the center, it's like it'll tear your boat apart. You gotta move with, um, you have to move with a current. You have to go. You have to commit yourself. Uh, you can stay there, but it's like having an undercurrent and an overcurrent, and that thing will wrap you up inside of it. And so I don't know how long you can hold your breath and wait for you to spit you out on the other side. But when we start talking about water, people drown in these types of things. So you better pick a current and swim in that direction um, until you can come on up. So I've hit a space in my life where it's like the currents have met and they are not going with each other. And so, for all the things that are going super well, there are also things that are super challenging at the exact same time. And so, for every move that is super challenging, it can absolutely be like, okay, that feels like the end of this. And for everything that is going super well, it can absolutely feel like that is the beginning that you were looking for. And so, those two things are happening. And the motivation that I have found at the end of this is just keep pushing towards the things that I desire, irregardless, no matter what. Just keep pushing towards them. And brother, what I've come to is just like, okay, my prayer is in God, and are my works are in the atmosphere. Like I'm doing the work. I'm not just waiting and sitting on my hands. I'm doing the work. And every single day, it's like make small adjustments, because if this isn't working just right, make a small adjustment, and just keep going forward. So my week has been that. It's been that high and that low and that move forward and that acceptance that this is where I am. I'm not somewhere else off in space, right? I'm not in a corner hiding, right? I'm right here. I'm facing everything head on, and I'm moving forward. And so I'm just very, very mindful and grateful for each and every individual that I have inside of my corner. Very, very grateful as I move through this process.
I think you how you brought it up about, you said where the currents meet. Is that the phrase you used?
I did.
Yeah. And I can imagine the amount of people that ever get a chance to listen to this possibly are, have been, or currently are, or have at least gotten through that point. Like, and if you haven't gotten to that point, I probably don't know the amount of growth that's actually happening in your life. Maybe you're at a point where most of the things that are going on are just looping. Like there's just a loop of the same thing over and over again. But when you step out into something new, whatever that is, the new environment, new job, new circle, whatever it is, that there's a place that comes where there's this thing where it's like, because it doesn't sound like it's a passive thing. where you're just kind of just allowing it to happen. It's more, it more so becomes like this. I'm in movement. I want to say fight, but I don't even like that word. I don't like the word. That's not my. I'm not a fan of it. Although I've done it on more than one occasion. I've been in it, and I'm not saying with other people. I mean just within whatever there is going on within my life. There may have been some kind of fight or battle or whatever you want to call it. And when you reach that spot, mm, you said something before we came on the air. You said I don't even know what kind. I don't know if it's if I know what I need, but I don't know if I know what it is that it what it could be, right? Like I don't know what I don't know essentially. I know what I know, which is I it would be helpful for this, but well, I don't know what I don't know. So anything could be there. And I'm just thinking about this current, man. Especially once you accept that that's the place that you're in, and you become aware of it, and you're on some level even grateful for the awareness and the noticing of it. It could almost feel like man, because I was having this thought like it's I guess we put time on it. Like how long am I going to be here? It's probably something that I would do as well. When is enough enough? Um, and getting past that. I'm wondering if there's like even a shedding of something, like a thought process of what, getting past this current point feels like.
I think that's good. I think that's really good. You know, real good, man. I had a conversation a couple days ago, and some great collaborators that I've been working with, great collaborators. And while we were in the middle of this, I ran into a scenario. Couldn't make my flight. It was that simple. Only one flight going that could make it, and I missed it. And I ended up doing my part, but I had to do it via Zoom. So this was heavy, right? For everybody, for everyone that's a part of this major movement. And when we came back um, to have a debrief, the collaborators said, I'm angry because it feels as if this is not a priority. And I took all of that in. I took it all in, bro. I absorbed everything. I let everybody to say everything. I even went back and I said, is there any more? Anything more that you would desire to say right now?
This was a
Anything?
critique of you. Is that what it was, or a critique of the
They
event?
were right, critique of me and me not being able to be there because everyone who knows me and understands who I am, they know when I get into a room, I have a way of bringing a certain energy, a certain fire, and so by me not being in that room, I couldn't contribute the fullness of who I am. I was in a box, in a rectangle for a moment, and I couldn't be there for the entire thing. Not to mention all the commitments. So at the end of that, we ended up coming up with an agreement. And the agreement was um, one of them said, if this is too much, we love you, but maybe you should step back. Now, another one said, whatever we need to do, we'll bend over backwards to have you as part of it. And what I did, probably classic of me, is I viewed it from a perspective outside of myself and looked at it from the three-pronged view. And I said, if I were talking with a coach and I was telling the coach about this conversation, even if I were that coach, my thought is my coach would say to me, you have enough on your plate and they have given you an exit. And I thought to myself, and this is me just telling them straight up, like as a coach, I wouldn't go in directly like that. I would help the individual to see that, and I mentioned that to them as well. I said I would help the individual to see, but this would be the bottom line of me receiving the coaching, is that I've got an opportunity to move out of the way and to focus on the things that I need to focus on so that I can move forward. Because you mentioned the word shedding of certain things, right? Right. And so, man, when that thing hit, it was like pow. And so that's what I ended up doing. I ended up just like excusing myself out of the circle, and making an appointment to come back maybe in 3 months, 6 months, and see what's going on with the process and see if it's a good space and a good time for me to enter in or not. Checkup, right? But for the sake of that matter, move right on out. And that was it was a real powerful movement, because at the same time I ended up with another collaboration that came up like maybe a day later, and I sent out very, very specific measurements. And one of them was that I'm not interested in moving into anything that would require my time weekly. If we can do this via email and maybe meet on a high level strategically to put something together every month and see where that leads us, great. These are the 3 or 4 things that I can offer to this process, very, very acutely spoken, just like that. And on just like hammer to nail. And these are the things that I am expecting out of this. And so I entered into that meeting, I gave it 30 minutes. And based off of that message that I delivered, we were able to come in and establish game rules that would really fit, and schedule another meeting a month later to see if this was actually something that we wanted to pursue, if it was good time, good space. And so immediately the one thing that I shed, it taught me the lesson on how to ensure that I don't go down a pathway that I cannot, that I feel is not appropriate for me today. And so that's why I said there's so many highs and lows. And highs and lows in a week, it can be interpreted in different ways, right? Somebody can say, "Oh man, whatever, whatever." But what I'm saying is that some of the things that seem like they were bad may have been good, and some of the things that seem like they were good could possibly be bad. And I'm only using those 2 words, because I'm not just kind of like loosely fitting it. I don't really think that is good or bad. I really think that they're all kind of neutral. It's just all my perspective, and that perspective may change in a week, in a month, or in a year, right? So I'm
Now,
just saying that to give you some clarity on it, um, just as people may listen to this. Um,
and it's allowed to change too. So you could put an exclamation point on it. These things change. What do they say? We're in a fluid situation. the the situation is fluid. That's what I I would hear some high level government agent or general would say. The situation is fluid right now, sir.
Yeah.
I, you said a lot. I got more questions than anything. Because we went from the shedding. I think that concept, and I think you explained it correctly. Like you got to think there was one flight you missed the flight, right? And not because you wanted to miss the flight, at least not consciously, but it just
Correct.
happened. And then you get people who are having their this is so important. I want people to get this real quick. People are having their own experience when you meet them, when you talk to them. Like it's so many things have possibly happened in their mind to them during that day or their lifetime or how they proceed with things. So that's why when you can get into a room knowing that a person, and hopefully knowing, at least knowing, or hopefully there's no animosity there, a person who can actually quote unquote move a room and you know that they bring value to you and your organization, and one person can easily say, let's say they both know these things and they both think these things are true to them, but however one person can have anger about a person not being able to make it or missing a flight or seeing it some kind of way. Like this is I almost call I would want to call it like projection. Like they're projecting whatever they have going on in their life on this person, right? Whatever could have happened. Maybe, whatever happened. So now they're putting that on Joe, who from what I know about Joe, like I was gonna my other question would be like about him saying no. Because I really want us to, but he says no, he just does it a lot more tactfully than I do. So a person knows Joel and would get angry at him because of this thing that happened. And another person who in the same time is saying, how can we work this thing out? How can we make this happen? How can we make this work because of the value as opposed to somebody who has a different ideal on it? Um hmm. and I think it and I want to give you you coaching yourself at the time for you to be able to say, maybe this is not the time or the place for this current whatever it was project, because of whatever else you have on the table, and because you doing that, and I maybe at the time it feels a certain kind of way, like I'm letting this thing go, but then you're saying that another opportunity popped up, which I think is something that we can kind of take a look at. I don't think one opportunity makes or breaks me. I just don't. There's just something in my mind that does. I don't think one opportunity, one person, one misstep, one decision, like it's these things aren't really going that thing is not really going to make or break me specifically. I can look at it and have like, some people have FOMO, right? Fear of missing out on something.
Mm.
And then that happens. Ah man, I should have bought Bitcoin in 2012 or 13. I knew about it. Like right now, I can tell you, I knew about Bitcoin in 2012, 2013, and it was a blip on my radar, and I was like, I'm not even thinking about it at this point in time. Now it's worth, I think it's like 60 some thousand. At one point, it was like 100 and something thousand, from, if I'm not mistaken. But either way, just think it, regardless of what it is now, if you bought it in 2012 or 2013, you'd probably be a fairly, depending on how much you bought, you'd be fairly well off. And even knowing that and knowing that I had an opportunity and I just didn't even think about it, which I think most of us do. Like I'm sure more people than not knew about Bitcoin, but it didn't really register. Like it didn't make any sense. And there's probably somebody who's there who's like super regretful about it. And I'm just not that kind of person. And I think those types of opportunities happen all the time. I know they do for me. So I guess that's probably why I can really look at things and say, yeah, nah, um, I'm okay, right? And hope for the success of whatever it is. Like, listen, it's not for me at this point in time. I hope you have the most success. You know, I hope you shoot to the moon with whatever it is that you have going on. It's just not for me at this time, and that's just how I look at things. Because I know that we're going to be filled with opportunities if I keep my eyes open, and now how I make decisions if I know this opportunity is going to bring me joy. One of the things that I look at when I'm making a decision on things is that joy piece. Um, and what does that mean? It's not just that I want something or I desire something. It's like, okay, as I'm in the practice of this thing or as I'm doing the work of this thing, like what does it how do does it bring me more energy while I'm doing it? Or is it something on my radar, which happens a lot for me, where it's just like, God, man, I got this thing at 7 o'clock. I don't even want to go. And I know that feeling well because it used to happen to me all the time because I had an issue with saying no. I had an issue, or maybe just an issue of not letting go. So not letting go, saying no, kept things in my schedule that really took away. There was more energy that was taken away from me than was actually put back into me so that I can, work the next day. I have the energy to move the next day. So that's just kind of how I played it. And like for 1 year straight, maybe a year and a half, and it wasn't that long ago. Probably in the last couple of years, there was a point where I just said no to everything. Everything was a no. Why did you do this experiment, Mike? I just had to find out. Like I had to find out that if I said no, that I would survive. Like I would still be alive. I still would, my kids would still have some food on the table to eat. I still would eat well. Well, interestingly enough, it wasn't all smooth sailing. There were some things I had to say no to because I probably couldn't afford to do it at the time. I'm like, I sure wish I would have took on that job or whatever it was, that client a couple of weeks ago, because that money would have been coming in nicely right now because I want to do this thing. Um, what me saying no and doing that thing got me to become very resourceful at things, like really start to value, like resourcefully, like how to get things done and how to move around. The best thing it did for me was knowing that I wasn't going to die for saying no. That I remember there was a saying back in the day my homeboy told me. He was like, never turn down nothing but your collar. Right? So and I
Mm,
really took that. That was something that I was living by. Like, you just don't turn it down. You can always find a way to make it work. And that's okay. I mean, maybe there's even a season where you say yes to everything. Like, this is not, you either one way or the other way. This is just kind of where you are, and wanting to experiment on things and seeing how it develops for you within life. So that year, and it still resonates because there's a lot I say no to. Like, I say no. I say no a lot. Um, but I also say yes. And when I say yes, that means that I'm fully involved in the yes, in the way that I want it to be, not to fix anything, not to move anything around, but it's just, yeah, you got me. Right? Like we're gonna make this thing happen. And I love one of the things that you mentioned, brother, was like when you were dealing with this other, the next opportunity, like you said, man, I had to put certain things in opportunity. Like, listen, it can't be a weekly thing. This is the email. Like, you put these things on top of it so you can do what? You can have boundaries and you can protect your time. And within that container, you can fully be immersed into it. Because if you're fully immersed into it, you're fully involved in it. If I'm telling you, if it brings you joy, you can get so much more. You can be so much more intentional, and not just intentional. Because I had a thought process about intentionality recently,
mm.
but not just intentionally, but actually start to look at some of the results that you get from it. Maybe not the exact ones that you want, but you feel fulfilled by it, which I think is even better than just getting. I've seen people who made $1 million and they weren't fulfilled. I've seen people who didn't make $1 million, close to it, and were fulfilled. Who do you want to be? Like, you get a chance to figure that out. Some of us are back listening probably and saying, Well, let me see what those $1 million feel like. And I would advise that you do as well. I would also say that there were certain goals that I hit myself and I wasn't fulfilled. There was more to it, right? So but go taste it, go feel it if you can, if there's an opportunity for it. The decisions or choices that we make, I would say this as well, is man, before we got on, or we were kind of talking, and I looked up at one of my principles, and one of them is to check your temperature. Like, what is my physical, emotional, and mental state as I'm making this, whatever the decision that I'm in? Like, what is my state, right? Do I need caffeine, right, brother? Like, do I need do I need to more sleep? That's a big one. Like, what's my sleep like? Sidebar: I slept like a baby 2 nights ago. I told Elijah, I said, "Man, I felt like Paul sleeping. Man, I felt so. I had such a good. I had such good rest that night. I don't know. I woke up at 6:30, 6:45. Like, oh my god! Like, what was that? Um, I digress. When you are making your decisions, or if you're in a decision, because you make decisions and choices all day, but when you're in a decision, meaning that there's a feeling or a trigger surrounding it, pay attention to your state.
Hmm.
Your state is also going to kind of give you a understanding of the capacity that you have, because you can be in a decision and you could actually be stretching the capacity you have at the moment. We all can do a lot
Hmm.
when we're well rested, when we're well nurtured, when we're well fed, when we're like, there's all these things that can come into place. So pay attention to where you are at a time, because rarely are we all these things at once. A lot of us, right? So now you're making decisions when you don't necessarily when you aren't really aware of your state, and so you're stretching your capacity. Um, I'm gonna tell you what happens when you are a little bit past your capacity and you make a decision that takes you beyond your capacity, and you make it, and you're in the decision, and you make that decision, or you make a choice, is that you can get out of alignment really quick within that. Meaning that when you getting to that decision, when you are implementing or in the process of it, a lot of other things can fall to the wayside that you are priority to you, that you love, that you enjoy, that kind of just make you, you know? Like, I love me. When I'm not being me, I don't really like that. When I would call it abandoning yourself. When you are abandoning yourself to do something, because you just most of us just want to live up to our commitments, right? Like, we make a commitment. So sometimes, but you committed yourself to something that takes you away from yourself. I would exercise caution. I would really take a look at that, because that's a tough it's a really tough place, in my experience, to kind of come back from. And it happens all the time. I probably one of the my name is covering my face. Probably a really good example is like people who fall in love, right? You fall in love with this person, and you love this person, or quite possibly more so infatuated with this person to such a point to where you can abandon yourself for this person. And 3, 6, 9, 12 months go by, maybe 16 months, and you start to come back to yourself, and now you're looking at the other person and you're like, well, how did I even get all the way outside here? Like, I stopped talking to some of the people that were well meaning and well, in my life. I stopped going to certain things that I wanted to go to. I'm sure a lot of us, I can't be the only one that probably went through this. But so if you understand what I'm saying, please put a comment in the comment section that you got so far away from yourself. When you look back, you're like, how did I get so far? And now it's like, so that's kind of what I mean by some of the decisions and some of the things that we do when we're in it, when we get beyond our capacity and out of our physical, emotional, and mental state. Check your temperature. What exactly is going on? I'm telling you right now, if I know before I'm in a decision, because we make choices all day that we don't think about. So sometimes we get into a decision, and that's when we start to have this weight about the next step. Oftentimes, I'm gonna tell you a quick tip how you know you're in a decision is when it gets rigid. It's either this or that, and it's rarely ever that if you start looking at it from the outside. However, we're human, right? So it's either this or that. Notice that. Is it really this or that? Okay, let me take a step back. Last night I didn't get sleep. I might be dehydrated. Maybe I worked out too hard and the effects of it. Maybe I'm over caffeinated. I don't know how many people had that. I've had it where I'm just like, oh, I'm over caffeinated. Maybe these things are happening. I at that point in time, I would pause. I would exercise a word I brought up last week. I'm bringing it up again. I would exercise caution in that. Like, oh man, caution. Like, what is this about? Right before the brother and I got on this live, before we even seen each other, it was about 10 minutes before I set everything up, and I said, I'm feeling the way, like stagnant, like what is this about? Did you do there's certain things that I want to get done. I want to anyways. That's what my mind is telling me. So sometimes I don't listen all the time. What is this about? And I sat down and I laid down. It's funny because the brother told me he laid down as well, but I laid down and I said, let me do this emotional inquiry. It's going to take 8 to 10 minutes. Let me go on and go through this process of it, because I don't want to make a decision on my next step, even as simple as it may be, without actually grasping what it is that I'm feeling at this moment. What is my emotional and mental and physical state? I don't want to get on to Community Beacon and have a conversation with the brother and hold him, and all this stuff is like kind of sitting there weighing on me, and I can, because the brother will listen to me anyways. It's not, I'm not trying to disempower him or give him the chance to bless me with his information, his knowledge, his patience, and his ability to hold people. I'm gonna do that from time to time, but at the moment when I have the wherewithal, it's like, okay, let me stop. And for a lot of people, it may seem like, man, stopping, like, how can I do that? Like, I have to stay busy. If I'm not busy, I'm not productive. I don't necessarily think that's true. I think sometimes you get to stop. If you allow it and you accept it, like, you get to sit and what comes to me sometimes when I'm doing that is like gratefulness. Like, this AC is blowing. I'm laying here. I'm able to be. I'm noticing, which is I'm just grateful for noticing now. Okay, now I can move forward. Now the conversation that I have next may be fruitful. Now the decision that I make, I'll make it with joy, not really worried about what the negative may come of it. I may make a decision and trust you me, I do it all the time. I got one weighing on my head. We're in June, come in July. It will sprout into July from a decision that I made back in probably May or June or whatever, and it may or may not, the dice may not roll to the way that I want it to roll. But guess what? Like, okay, what? I'll have enough time to deal with that when it comes and experience it, and say, hey, okay, it didn't roll my way. All right, I appreciate it. Let's go. I'm not. There's no. I didn't make. I can't look back and say, if I could have just went this way. And not to say that I don't. Let me not, because I'm not. I'm not coming to you. I want to be as real as possible with you. So there's not gonna be all like I got it figured out. Like I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna show up as if I have it all figured out. That's not the case. The case is I am experiencing this thing. It's a
Good.
lot of this stuff is out of my hands when you really think about it. Like, brothers say, like, I'm working. I know the brother on the other side is like he's working and he's doing his whatever's gonna move the ball as much as we can. And I know he's moving it, right? He's that's why when he talks about when I show up in a room, I can show up in a room and I can move it. That's this energy, this power, and this will that he's been given, and he's able, and he's done enough work and understanding of it that he understands how to transmit this thing. I'm not putting words in it, but this is kind of how I feel and how I understand it to be, being in some of those rooms that he's been in, and at the same time, it's so much bigger, and you have to allow, you know, whatever you want to call it, the energy, your God, like whatever it is that you call it. I don't want to say it, whatever you call it. I'm not, because the word to me personally doesn't really matter, but whatever it is that you want to call it, you call it, that that has a purpose, right? And there's how many people? 8 billion people in the world right now, and they're all playing their part as well. Um, so you get to allow that, and you get to surrender to that as well. Like you get to be up and be in awe of it as well, and saying, okay, I'm doing my 0.100110001%, as much as I can, and I'm fully in it. Is it acceptable? Is it? And you don't necessarily have to ask whoever that is. You can ask yourself, like, is this acceptable? Is what I'm doing acceptable to me? Can I lay down in bed and accept it? That's a great question to ask. Some days you be like, yeah, I don't accept it, and that's okay. Some days you lay down in bed. Hopefully, you have more of these days where it's like, yeah, that's some good stuff. Like I laid it on the line. I didn't. I said what I needed to say. I moved how I wanted to move. I felt what I needed to feel. I smiled with somebody because it could be as simple as that. I helped. I supported something. I supported myself. I trusted myself. I stayed within myself, even though this thing was going crazy. I didn't get up. You ever heard someone say, "Brother, you got up outside of yourself. You was outside of yourself." You know what I mean? Where
Mm.
you just watch this thing move. I had a cousin real quick, and I ended here where he said, "Man, he was in an argument with somebody, and he said his mind said, 'Don't you say that? Don't you say that?'" He said, "Man, all I noticed, I was outside myself, and I saw the words flying right out of my mouth." He said, "Next thing I knew, I was running down the street with my suitcase." You know what I mean? Like you just sometimes, but he was outside of himself. But if you are within yourself and you get into that mode, you can actually feel it and it'll flow through you. So if you that to me, like when I go to sleep, like did I get up outside of myself? When I'm running through this crazy checklist that my mind does because I'm so hyper vigilant, like I just run through the list, like, okay, I said this, I said that, he said that, oh, she said this, and I said this, and these are things that just running through my mind. I'm like, okay, well, cool. Were you still within yourself? Did you not abandon yourself? Are you okay? Do you accept that can happen? Your mistakes, your great people, what people will call great, whatever, all these things and all. Can I accept it? Right? And I think that's ultimately a great for me. It's like a great way to live. It's a joyous way to live. It's a exciting way to live. Can we accept that? Are we a word that you brought up last year that's really been resonating for me is the agency. Did I give up agency, or am I giving it up, or do I have it? Am I accountable? Yeah.
That's good, man. That's good. Oh man, that's good. And when you mention intentional, um, and like your new thoughts that you have on intention. That's spiked the interest in my mind for quite some time. So now I just want to make sure that I said that, so that if you have a follow up about what that is that you've been diving into it about, then um, you can do so.
I love it.
I, I
Go ahead.
think
Go ahead.
about,
Yeah, go ahead, brother.
yeah, I think about the A-frame, that kind of was sparked up between our conversation,
Yeah.
and just being aware, um, acknowledging acceptance, alignment, advancement. And I think at one point in time we actually had a 6-1. I just don't remember it right now. So I only remember the 5. And I mean, it's a crazy process, right?
Mm.
And I don't mean crazy as in it's a crazy process. I just mean that it's crazy accurate. Um, and each one of those rungs on the ladder means so much. Means so much. I was speaking with one of my clients, and I gave them this reference point of when I went down to Miami. I went down to Miami and took the work on as the assistant pastor down there. And I was there for about 4.5, almost 5 years, somewhere around there. And I met up with the pastor. And when I met up with him, we had like these conversations, kind of like what you and I have. Um, just, and what I mean by that is it's just really deep diving and exposing, right? You can't act like you can talk with certain people and um, they're not going to see the inside of your house. You know, you, you're going to be an open book, because these connections, however many they are, when you meet these type of people, they, and it's up to you. But when you meet someone like Mike, for me, may not be for you, but for me, it's like the door is not locked for you. And so if I come in the house and you're in there and you're in this room, it's not a big deal. That's how much trust, right, I have. And the house being your mind, your life, right? It's being your embodiment as far as another man can know. And so him and I were having this discussion, and man, we came to the conclusion that in my time, in my studies, I was more curious about why. So I was always researching why. Like, why is this going on? You know? And his process was how. How do I do it? And so while we were discussing this, it was like, man, I really need to learn how to do some of the things. Like, I understand the reason why, from as far as a man can understand what a man understands, right? And, he understands the how, but he doesn't always know the why. And it was just kind of funny. We played off of that for a while. Anyway, as I was talking with my client, I ended up expressing this. And I generally will give this example so that people can understand what I'm saying. But I prayed. And when I prayed, I wanted to know how to be able to do the thing that I was doing and to do it again and to be able to go up and down. And so what ended up happening was I had this vision or dream, I'm not really sure. But in that vision, I walked up this ladder to the second floor of the exterior of a house, and I crossed over and there was steps, and I walked up the steps, and then after that there was another room on the third floor of this home, on the exterior of this home, and I walked in, and when I walked in there was gifts as far as the eye can see, as high as the eye can see, and that's what it was. And then there was somebody else that I saw there that I had known from the beginning of my travels. Um, and so, without any representation or anything like that, um, for you all today, um, I understood it as my how. And I walked down the steps across, out the door, down the steps across the top of the first floor, and then down the ladder, and I hit ground floor. And that was the day that I began to understand how to get to the place that I was gifted at, right? How to get back to the place that I was gifted at. And, I shared that with them because that was important for me. It was very important for me to be able to go to the place that I'm gifted at when it was necessary. And so, like, when we start to talk about this A-frame ladder, it's like all these steps and everything. They happen, right? Either they happen or they don't happen. But if you're walking up those rungs, they're happening, even if it's like a second, or if you're like stuck on a rung for a little while, and you just got to hang out there until it's like you get acceptance. Like, acceptance can be a very difficult one. You can acknowledge, hey, this is what's happening, but I just don't accept it yet. You know what I mean? It's like, no. And so you can end up being right there. And I don't want to call it stuck, but you can end up being stuck right there. And so, like, all these processes, they're happening right in the back of the head, inside the mind, playing out in real life, in real time. And at the end of the day, it's ultimately going to be exactly what we make of it, And so, like, listening to how you process this conversation just brought me a lot of joy. It was really good, because these are all, it's the process of life. It's just the process of life, And I'm just, Mike, man, I remember I said a prayer, and I don't think, maybe I hadn't shared this half of it with people, but I know that people may have heard me say, I intend to live 131, to be 131, right? That's my intention. I want to see every single child turn 100 years of age, right? The minimum. And what they may not know is that I started praying that, almost 15 years ago, maybe like 13 years ago. That's just been my prayer. And then after it was a prayer, it just became this, a belief. And then it became just like this. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it. I will do it, But in that prayer, it was like to be able to feel whatever comes. Touch it, taste it, feel it. Like, I don't want to be absent for the whole package. And I'm going to tell you, man, I still stand firm on that. There are so many people that have gone through so many things, and they stood. I was just talking to a man yesterday, and he said, either he said figuratively or literally, he said, I got a shirt that says I survived the 60s twice. And it was just so interesting that it made me want to know more about him. He survived the 60s, and then he's 60 plus in age now. And he's like, I survived the 60s twice. And just like that concept is so empowering, because it's to say, I lived through something that was possibly, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but the 60s that was a tough time, and I lived through this my words, like this hell of a life that was surrounding him. Not to say that anybody else has never had something extremely challenging that was happening in society at large, right? Somebody may consider this to be that day, right? Or maybe 2020 to be that day. But then also to make it to be 60 years of age and then some and plus. So his physical body, his mental state, his emotional state, his spiritual state has survived inside of that one body for 60 plus years. And I just thought that was really just interesting. And so I don't know exactly how my road is going to end up, just like I don't know how anyone else's road is going to end up. I just know what I see inside my own mind, and that's what I press towards. And all of these things that come about, man, I'm not going to sit there and lie to you, Mike, or to any other world, man. Some of these things that I feel the pain of it, right? I feel it, man. That thing, when that thing moves through you, sometimes it stops. You're like, whoa, okay. You know, it's like a car accident, and many of you all may never experience this, and I hope that you don't. And many of you all may never experience it from the perspective that I have. But I would arrive on a scene, and the drunk guy would be, just like stuck in this mangled up position in the middle of a car accident. And after we spread the dashboard off of him and removed the steering wheel off of his chest and off of his legs and took the door off, and he just slides out. Just slides out. And we put him on a stretcher, and we take him to the back of the truck, and we check his body, and there's not one injury. We can't find anything. I mean, he's intoxicated. But the other car with the non-intoxicated people, we just leave them in the vehicle, and we wait for the EM to come, or the ME, because nobody survived. And it's like that kinetic energy, when it passes through you, it's like you don't feel anything. I mean, you're just oblivious to it. And I don't know if it's oblivious in the sense of possibly that drunk driver, it was oblivious to him. It was just another day. I don't even know if he'll ever remember it. Say the fact that somebody will tell him about it or whatever happened to him. But everyone else in that other car saved themselves, and that kinetic energy met resistance in every part of their body. And so the process that we've gone through, Mike, and what we've learned how to do, and the ability to use the ladder to the best of our ability, and and still getting better at it every single day, still practicing it. I believe that it gives us the ability to sometimes just to allow the thing just to pass directly through us, and to observe it, as it flows by, and to understand what it is. And then sometimes, as you mentioned, we are human. I am human. And sometimes, man, that energy passes through you and stops. And I'm grateful for that, because it lets me know where my improvement is at. I'm 47 years old, 47. I still got like 64 more years left to go. So it's just very important that, I learn every single thing that I can. Because I intend to be 131. And I intend to be available to share the gift of my life with people anywhere and everywhere. And to quote some of the old saints and the old preachers, you know, they've made a catchphrase, and that catchphrase is, God will take you through a mess so that you can deliver a message. You know, sometimes you have to go through a test so that you can have a testimony. But at the end of the day, man, this has been such a beautiful experience. And every single time I come into Community Beacon, I know that. You know, and for me, it's like it's just me and you, Mike. And I know somebody's going to hear something here. They're going to be able to, and that doesn't bother me at all. Because the whole point of us doing what we do is so that somebody may be able to hear it and learn from whatever it is that we're going through at whatever level we are in that. And the process that you have or the process that I have, that somebody may be able to take that and maybe make an adjustment so that they don't have as much places for kinetic energy to stop and cause and inflict damage, but that they can allow for things to flow. Yeah.
That's good, man. I love it. I think it would be really good for people, for me anyways. This is what works for me. It's like I'm just not alone in this. Right? It's just I'm not alone. I'm experiencing this thing. It's happening. And guess what? Mike and Joel are experiencing this thing too, or something similar to it, or they're able to communicate it. And I think that's what a lot of people, when they stop and they talk about it, is like, I'm not going and I'm speaking in this kind of way, and someone doesn't know anything about it. That brought me to one thing that the person said when they were saying about us doing. Yeah, you all still talking? I'm like, well, you're not, like, you like, it's a
Mm.
thing for them. And I'm like, well, we just come in every Friday. We cut the cameras on. Of course, we look a little bit more polished now than we were back in 2020. You see the building the brother has behind him, and the OLAB that he has that's there in North Palm Beach that you all need to check out. You see my TV and my wood paneling,
I like the wood paneling, by the way. That's nice.
the wood paneling in the background. I got a better camera, better mics, so on and so forth. And we come on and we just made it a priority or a commitment. I wouldn't even say a priority, just a commitment to actually go out and do a thing. Because as much as you might, and whoever this doesn't happen to, let me know. When you have that energy that doesn't, you all your energy just passes through. If you wherever you are, if you're at, let me look at the camera, wherever you're at, and you just have the same thing the brother described, and it doesn't stop at all, and and you're just flowing through it every time, every day, like that's the thing. Please reach out to me. I have some money for you. Like, please reach out. I have some money for you. Like that, or I might just retire and just be a student. If you have this going on for you and you've never had these growing pains, but from my understanding is that I think there's more so of an intensity level, and when it stops, I want you all to, like, really find a way to welcome and enjoy that thing. Just welcome and enjoy that thing. That's life. That is living. When you say everybody has a testimony, maybe they can't communicate correctly. Everybody has a message. Not to say that you should go out speaking and getting on stage. Like, I'm not saying that, but there's something within you. you have these energies going through you. We all have something, and we all, whatever it may be. So this person may be having it going on there that way, another person has it going on that way, but it's happening. I'm gonna tell you what's gonna be so sad. There's gonna be a point when that feeling, you're gonna wish you could have had it again. Like you're gonna be like, man, I remember. People talk about all the time. I heard one person say how him and his wife back in the day, and he's super rich now. I mean, ultra millionaire. When I ultra rich, so meaning 30 million plus dollars. He's worth over 30 something. But he doesn't reminisce about his next trip or the last trip. These trips have just become trips to him now. Like there's not a difference. The thing that he reminisces about and he has like the most feeling about is like when he was on his way up. Like I didn't have shoes. You know what I mean? Like he's telling these stories, and that's kind of what like brings him to this. That's where the passion lays, like the power for it. It's like I didn't have this, I didn't have that, and then we just came together and we made this, and I made this movement, so on and so forth. Then that's where it comes from, that intensity, and he'll never, more than likely, he won't ever feel that way again. Probably there's a fear, another whole thing, the battle that he has to deal with. Possibly, I don't want to speak for anybody and their experiences, but I'm just saying when I'm in the midst of this person and they're talking to me, this is what they talk about. They talk about the old days. They
Mm.
talk about this thing and how they overcame this hardship and how that turned them into who they are, that the part of them that they like. It's this intensity. So when that thing goes through you and it sticks, I'm always asking, like, what are you trying to tell me? What is this about? Am I ever gonna feel this again? What are you trying to, what are you getting away from? This is part of the shedding thing. And not shedding, but more could be alignment, right? Sometimes
Mhm.
we want to get rid of a part. I don't even want to get too far into it. I know we're coming about time, and that this will be a whole other show. I want you all just to pay attention. And if you have any thoughts surrounding this conversations, if it resonates for you, right? Like, subscribe, share. If it may resonate for somebody else, like, subscribe, share. A lot of us are having these issues, these thoughts. Going back to the beginning of the show, when we talking about being in a place that you can be held. I can honestly attest for myself. I can attest for the brother on the other side that we actually hold space for ourselves and for people. Like we're there and we're just like and super accepting, super loving, lots of connection. If you don't have that, it's there. The brother even has a building, right? So, in North Palm Beach, if you are in the midst of everything that you're in and you're looking around, environment plays a huge part. And some days you go away from it because the environment doesn't really support it. Well, we're going to be honest. We go out into the world, it may be at our jobs, it may be in our homes or whatever. Like the environment doesn't support some of the things that we need to be held. We can't speak to it. We can't speak on it around because people will tell you, "I don't worry about it. Oh, it'll get better." Or it's so whatever it is, you can get around somebody who's like this. Oh, we can understand. Not necessarily have to understand the exact experience, but can listen to it, and
Mhm.
and more than likely you're not alone. So for that to happen, a space for it to happen at, it may be well worth your your curiosity and your nature to go out and to see it, and if you seek, they say you will find. So
Mm.
that's what I'll leave it at, man. I think this has been some really great time, well spent. Um, yeah, man. God willing, and the creek don't rise. Anything last, brother? I don't want to cut you. I give you your time.
No, absolutely. Appreciate you all. Everybody that's checking us out, please go to YouTube, Community Beacon. We got our
Yeah.
own place. We got our own residence. All right? We got our own address on YouTube. So check us out, subscribe, like, and we'll see you on the next one.
All right, man. Peace, y'all.